Hey, let's talk about supplying water to your water system with your Camp365. You've got three options. You've got one that you fill at home. You've got a 12-gallon fresh tank that's built into the system and a 12-gallon gray tank. You can use city water to have continuous water. And if you're boondocking, you can actually fill these tanks internally if you're way back in the woods. Let me take you through the first step. Filling up the tank at home. Now, all of your Camp365s that come with a water system are going to come with a fill hose. What I've done is just connect it to my hose from home. It's got a quick connect on this thing. So before I actually insert this in the quick connect nozzle though, I got one other step. I need to reach down and turn the shutoff valve right here for the freshwater tank and the one for the gray water tank. It's just real simple. I just turn it to the right on both of them and we're set. Now we're ready to fill. So what I'm going to do is this quick connection is really cool. I'm just going to insert it into the freshwater connection like this. It's going to snap in and you can actually hear the water flowing into the tank right now. So you want to make sure that you fill the tank, but you don't want to overfill it. So what we're going to do is the Camp365 actually has underneath here overflow valves. They're actually at the bottom of the camper. And what we're going to do is we're just going to allow this to fill until that water starts coming out. As soon as that water starts coming out, you want to shut it off so you don't build excess pressure in the system. So what if you're camping at a campsite that has a spigot with water, or you're actually setting up the camper at home or another location that has a continuous supply of water? Well, you don't have to fill your tank in that situation. What you can do is use this city water connection. It uses the same hose, the same connection. You just plug it in. And what's nice about that is now you've got a continuous, virtually unlimited supply of water during your entire stay. So let's talk about setting up the shower. Now your Camp365 actually has a propane power hot water supply that'll supply both your shower and your sink. We'll cover the sink in just a little bit, but let's cover the shower first. The first step is I'm going to reach down in here and I'm going to hook the yellow hose to the yellow disc quick connect. And what that's going to do is it's going to supply water from the tank or the city to the unit. So we've got that. So yellow to yellow is your first step. The next step is I'm going to actually take the propane that runs this system and I'm going to bring it to the front of the camper. Now you can have a separate unit if you want, but what I'd like to do is just make sure that this is completely closed. I'll disconnect this. This is for the furnace. I'm going to connect this right now. It literally takes just a couple turns. Make sure it's hand tight like that. Open your propane. Now that we've got the propane hooked up and the tank actually turned on, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this green switch right here to hit the water pump, and that's going to supply the hot water heater with water from the tank or from the city water supply. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust the water pressure here, and I'm going to adjust the temperature of the water. This is an instant hot water system, and you'll see as I turn it on, I've actually got hot water already. I want to make sure that you're aware that this is a combustible product. You want to keep this door open so you can let the fumes out, especially if there's anybody in the camper, or if you want to take a shower, you can actually remove this. I'll show you that in just a second. Hey, one thing I forgot to mention is that the igniter from this system is actually powered by two D-cell batteries, which are actually housed right up in here. So you want to make sure that you've got those inserted correctly before you fire up the unit, or it's not going to want to start. And make sure you bring an extra set in case they go dead during your trip. Hey, there's another thing I want to mention about the shower. You can actually easily remove it from here and set it up in a tree if you want to have a portable shower curtain or something set up so you can have privacy when you're taking your shower. All you have to do is slide under here, remove the wing nut, pull the bottom of the unit out, pull the top of the unit up, and you've got actually 10 feet of hose that you can use now to hang this in a tree or something. Obviously you're going to want a remote supply for your propane to be able to get it away, but what you can do is just hang this up in a tree, set up a portable shower curtain or a little shower house, and you'll have a hot water shower and the privacy you might need in a campground situation. Hey, we've covered showers, we've covered filling the tanks. The next thing we're going to do is actually cover the sink. And The cool thing about the sink is it actually slides inside the camper and it runs off both cold and hot water. Now, as we come into the unit, we've actually already got the cold water system set up. This hose sets up and it actually goes in. We're going to connect it to the sink, but we want to make sure that we have hot water for the sink as well. So it's key. We're going to reach in here and we're going to find the quick connect that has the red tape, and we're going to connect it to the red tape right here. So you just slide it in. So we've got our pump on. Now we're going to slide around the camper and we're going to get access to the sink before we slide it into the camper itself. So I'm just going to open the door. So the sink is actually on a slider that moves in and out of the camper. This is your drain that's already hooked up that goes down to the drain system. This is your hot water. This is your cold water. And the hoses that we want to have are right here. We've got them marked with the red tape and the blue tape. So what we're going to do is we're just going to quick connect the cold water. Just push it in like this. So just a minute ago, we hooked up the hose to the back of the sink and the drain is already hooked up. So what we're going to do now is we're actually going to pull it into the living quarters here of the Camp365. We've got a nice industrial grade slider. I'm going to open the top like this. Now we've got a nice large sink that we can use for washing our face, washing our hands, doing dishes and that sort of thing. So a couple things about this sink is it actually comes with a chain. The Dometic comes with a chain. I don't like it. I actually just remove it from the plug and then I can still plug it. You've got your adjustment for the angle on your spigot, and then this is your water pressure. Now when you first start this, you may have some air in your hose from hooking it up and that sort of thing. So make sure you turn it on slowly to begin with. Make sure that it's not blowing out water and air at the same time. And what I'm going to do to adjust my temperature and my water pressure is I can turn it in and out like this for more water coming out. And I can adjust it from cold near the bottom, and I can slide up to here. You'll see the red is up top and the blue is on the bottom. I can slide it up here, and now I've actually got hot water that I can adjust for right here. It's pretty cool to have a camper like this and have hot and cold running water out in the wilderness. So that's how you run the sink. I'm going to put it back in because I want to show you another feature that's really unique about the Camp365. You know, earlier we had talked about the water tanks, the freshwater and the gray tank. Well, both of those are actually situated right here. And the cool thing about it, unlike other campers, you have easy access to them. The other thing I want to point out is both the fresh tank and the gray tank come with a removable top that allows you to get inside there. Now, a lot of campers after a year or two will have really funky tasting water, but not the Camp365, because after you drain the water out after a trip or at the end of the season, you can actually get inside there and clean it out to make sure that you get any moisture out of there or any sediment or anything like that, and your tanks will be nice and fresh and clean. The other cool thing about this is with this access, you can actually use these tanks as coolers. If you want to fill them up with ice and put some food inside there or drinks or anything like that, they'll be you can access them right inside. The other nice thing is if you're going to do more boondock camping and you want to double your water capacity, we can actually set up your camper at Camp365 so you got fresh water and freshwater, so you don't have 12 gallons, you actually have 24. At the end of your trip, before you pack up the camper and you start heading for home, make sure you disconnect the two hoses at the back of the sink, both the hot water hose and the cold water hose. They come with the quick connects, and all you do is just push the button on top, disconnect that one, push the button here, disconnect that one. I usually just leave the hoses hanging just like that, and now I can slide the camper all the way back and lock it and close that right there. Very simple, very easy. Hey, if you're going to be using city water for the entire trip, it's really smart to actually not hook it up directly like this and leave the door open. We actually have created a little plug right here that allows you to reach in, pop the plug out right here, thread your hose on the outside between here. The camper has to be open for this. You slide it in just like this, then you hook it up right here. I like to leave the camp right here so I don't lose it. And now I can close the door and lock it, and it's going to be weather tight, but I still have water. Pretty cool feature. Hey, earlier when we talked about filling the tanks, we wanted to make sure that the valves were closed. Now when we want to drain the tanks, we want to make sure they're open. So let's go back down here. These are the valves. This is for your freshwater tank, the one in the front, and this is for your gray water tank. To drain the tank, all you have to do is slide that so it's parallel or even with the hose, and you'll see that we've got the water actually coming out right here. Now this spigot right here is for the gray water. To dump that one, you actually open the other valve like this, and you can see it draining out. Now this is pure clean water that's coming out there. There's no soap or anything. We don't recommend that you dump any type of gray water to the ground. So the best thing to do is actually bring a section of hose with you that you can connect right to the unit right here, and then use a dump station at the campground or wherever you're traveling to get rid of that water responsibly. Yeah, if you're having an issue draining completely both the gray water and the freshwater tank into Camp 365, one of the keys and one of the easiest things you can do is actually, once the camper's closed and ready for travel, is just take your front jack and lower the front end. And what that'll do is I'll put the drains a little bit lower than the rest of the tanks inside. If you still have water in there, you can open the tops of them and use a sponge to get all of that completely out and clean the tanks before your next trip. Hey, one other thing, if you live in a northern climate where temperatures drop below zero and you're worried about freezing, you want to make sure that your Camp 365 has been winterized. Now, unlike a lot of units, you're not going to need any type of antifreeze, but what you do need to do is make sure that you remove all the water from all the hoses. So make sure you disconnect the hoses, drain them, including your shower head, so you get all of the water out of there. What I'd like to do in a hot water system is I actually remove the main water hose. You just roll it off this way and lower it. Make sure that the tanks themselves, the valves are open, that there's no remnant water left in them. And next spring, all you have to do is close your valves, fill the tanks, and you're ready to roll.